Sonic and the Secret Rings is a really funny game to me, because not only did it start out life as a Sonic 06 port for the Wii that never got finished, but it then resurrected like a phoenix from the ashes into something that I consider to be even worse than Sonic 06, mainly because of multiple decisions that were made during development that caused this game to come out as the confusing mess that it is. Sonic and the Secret Rings became an on-rails 3D platformer that, on paper, makes some kind of sense for Sonic the Hedgehog gameplay, but on disc, it just turns it into a massive chore to experience. Now you might be saying, oh my gosh, Dylan, are you being negative because that's the hot thing to do on YouTube? You're trying to be hot? You're trying to be like in style? No, my friends, I simply have mastered the ability of common sense, and I can dismiss every criticism of my argument so far with one simple word: motion controls. But Dylan, you never complained about motion controls in Mario Galaxy. Perhaps you are just being biased again? You shut your mouth. I have complained about that. Sometimes my arm gets tired. What are you gonna do? Tell me it's not tired? At least when it comes to most of the Wii games, the motion controls aren't incredibly intrusive, or they make sense and they work really well. See things like Zelda Skyward Sword's motion-controlled sword, which worked pretty well, from what I can remember. Or we can use the Mario Galaxy example again. Even Mario Galaxy 2 doesn't ask you to do too much more with the Wiimote itself, aside from pointing at the screen here and there, and shaking it when you need to commit violence on another. If we turn over to the Sonic and the Secret Rings chapter of the book now, we see that there is no nunchuck. And that means the Mad Lads really thought it was a good idea to tilt the controller back and forth to move Sonic around. This isn't something that can't work. Again, we can look at Mario Galaxy. We have those levels where the ball is rolling around. You gotta tilt the remote, and it's very precise with how you're tilting it. But the thresholds in Sonic and the Secret Rings make Sonic very twitchy to play in this game. When changing between going forwards and backwards, Sonic often flips out. It's just a mess. Like, none of this has any realistic feedback so that you can really get a handle on how much you're supposed to tilt the controller. It really just feels like a guessing game the entire time, because remember, you can't just focus on how much you're tilting this controller. You need to be paying attention to things on screen, and since it's a Sonic game, there's a lot happening on screen, and it's usually happening pretty fast. So sluggish controls plus fast gameplay? No wonder people didn't like this one. But I have a confession to make. I've been very negative so far, but I actually love a large amount of this game. I think the presentation looks absolutely gorgeous for the Wii. Certainly looks better than the 06 models, which I found way too lanky. This feels like a very good compromise. I would say the model has a lot of room for expressions, but we unfortunately don't get to see Sonic emote very much. He just blankly stares into the void most times, because most of the game's cutscenes are told through these very nice, and I would even say like timeless, 2D stylized cutscene panels. Since the game takes place in a book, it makes a lot of sense to have these, and they would then bring it back for Black Knight, because yet again, that man Sonic is jumping into books like he is a failed Banjo-Kazooie reboot. I wouldn't have thought that Sonic owned so many books, to be honest. I feel like he would have a takeout menu for a pizza place, and he wouldn't even know how to read it. He would just know what the pictures are, and he would order based on that. I also really like the idea of leveling Sonic up and getting new abilities as time goes on, but I think the way they did it in this game makes Sonic an absolute chore to play until he's a much higher level. I know you can't just start people off with the maximum settings, but if your dead zero to like level 40 settings are just kinda alright, then I think we need to jump up to like the 50s, let's say. It's like those people that are like, oh, you'll love this show, but you know, the first 2 seasons aren't that good. Okay, I'd rather just watch something that's good the whole time, or something that's good immediately and then it gets bad later, then you can just stop. I don't know. Less commitment that way. So the presentation is amazing and the gameplay is doo-doo feces. I can't believe it. That's never happened with a Sonic game before. Oh, but what's this? Is that a fan game project seeking to replicate Sonic and the Secret Rings and turn it into a game that has real controls, along with many other fixes that transform it into a much more enjoyable experience? KumaPauZ, you shouldn't have, but I'm very glad you did. Yet again, another example of the Sonic fanbase being absolutely wonderful to us and working on a project that takes an exorbitant amount of time, all for the benefit of us playing a fun game in the long run. Sonic and the Secret Rings Reignition, a powerful powerful title for a powerful game. Since you already know how Sonic and the Secret Rings plays, I'm going to show you exactly how this game differs, and I'll show you a side-by-side comparison of both games. Just a quick note, the Wii version will be running at 60 FPS, because that's an option if you're playing it on totally real hardware, of course. The biggest improvement already, we have controller support. Not like Wii Remote controller, of course. I mean like a controller with a control stick that will move Sonic. The way that John Video Game himself intended when he created the first video game. So there's like 85% of my complaints cut out of the game already, so that's a pretty good update. Since we now have 100% control of Sonic, some areas might look a little bit weirder. Like some of these more scripted sections you'd see in the Wii game where Sonic is auto-running, you now have to move the stick and kind of maneuver Sonic around. And that might sound like the beginning of some kind of criticism, but no. They've actually added more gameplay to these stages because now you're not auto-running as much. You just need to figure out how you're supposed to move the control stick to keep Sonic flowing properly. Motion-controlled objects like the pot with wings, what a weird thing. I'm sure that's somewhere in the Arabian Nights, but I don't care to check. This can now just be used by pressing one of the buttons on your controller or keyboard, and we really don't need to think about it more than that. It's just a pot with wings. With the 3 levels that are currently included, we have the first level of Sand Oasis, a challenge stage where you have to destroy 5 pots, which I actually find kind of fun with the new control scheme. Again, when you can actually control the character properly, it really does a lot for the gameplay. Who would have thought? And finally, we have the first boss encounter of the game with the average scorpion you would see in Arizona. I think you can especially see the differences here when we look at the boss fight. This control scheme we have in Reignition just works so much better for this kind of boss encounter, especially when it comes to the eyeball coming to attack you, because in the Wii version, it took me a long time to get this reticle to lock on properly, and I don't know if I was doing something wrong, and then I got hit by it, and I was able to lock on easier. I don't know, I'm probably just doing something wrong there, but in the remake, I jump up, I attack the eye, transaction completed. And now for some smaller details I noticed. One thing that struck me and made me laugh, honestly, was after you beat a stage in the original game, you immediately get thrust into 7 rings in hand as your score is tallied up and you decompress from the stage you just played, whether it be good or absolutely horrible. You know which ones I'm talking about. And then you get sent back to the level select menu and you hear 7 rings in hand while you're selecting your stage. And I don't know if it ever bothered anyone else, but it feels like there should have been like some other music tracks in these areas, because otherwise it's just like, okay, I get it, this is your main theme, this is your vocal theme, you paid the big bucks for it, but why have it in so many places to the point where when I hear it, I start rolling my eyes? The remake does not do this. The remake instead uses an instrumental of 7 rings in hand, and the level select has a completely different track that just spices up the atmosphere a little bit more. This is not me saying I don't like 7 rings in hand. I do like the song, but having it appear less makes it feel more special. I don't think I have much else to say about this yet, because it is 3 levels and I've played them all several times already. Definitely go check out the game by clicking the link in the description, and follow their channel for updates on the project. I know I will be. And while I've got you here, I'm wondering why you haven't subscribed. I think I did a pretty good job explaining all of this to you, so if you would like to, you know, subscribe and see more of stuff like this, you can always click the button down below the video. It's free, easy, and you can always unsubscribe later. Plenty of people do. I'd also like to give a huge thank you to my current channel supporters, who are Wild Wire, Elijah Perry, Common CJ, Keo Cartoons, Noah Wizbios, Roscoe TGC, Mr. Dreamcast, Nian, Danny Lee Dauber, J. Remy, Dax, Faye, Minty, Megatrafficone, Ty Little Tech Guy, Crystal, Dork in a Hat, Gino the Puppet, and Noah Wizbios again. Thank you as well to everyone who's supporting in the $1 tier. I appreciate everything so very much. And if you'd like to join these wonderful people getting shoutouts at the beginning and end of my videos, go ahead and click the join button below the video to see perks such as shoutouts, obviously, having a badge next to your name that makes your comments more visible in the comment section, and special emotes you can use on my YouTube channel in your comments and on live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.